That's gay. Partners is a gay term, and the divorce and remarriage
Hake,
is.
I'm gay. Of course I
No,
would
you're
say
not.
partners. Hake, the last sexual interaction I had was me sucking cock. Okay, I'm gay enough for you, at least.
TMI.
Of course, let it be
So-
known that I love him, though.
Yeah. So hey, just real quick.
What haven't I
don't mean
answered?
well, I don't mean to interject too much, but I still think that you have to contend with the argument that was kind of put down on the table of why you think these things are immoral. This seems to be where we keep on driving back to, and so it looks like Vaush was kind of saying, look, you're conflating God and natural, and you're kind of making a conflation of these things. Whether that's true or not, it's not for me to decide, but I would like to see that kind of this question addressed a little bit more thoroughly if we can.
The God and nature thing for
No. The question
the
as to the morality or
the morality
immorality.
of butt sex and all that disgusting stuff. I think I explained that pretty clearly. I did point out that there's things that are permissible, perhaps, like kissing and stuff like that. I don't think it's wise to get too into that. I think you should be watching yourself and avoiding falling into temptation. And he brought up food, saying, well, you're probably more laissez-faire about food, as though that's a justification. But yeah, I think that people need to watch themselves morally with their relationship with both food and with sex, because these are hang-ups. And when you have hang-ups, you're not your own man. And when you're not your own man, you can't be following God.
Actually, I want to touch on that. So,
Okay.
with regards to temptation, okay? So I think you said earlier you don't think there's anything inherently wrong with having sex or whatever. It's that it leads you in bad directions. The temptation puts you like in a bad way. So I guess I would wonder, like, if you had a human, like a man, let's say a man, because I know you're preferable. If you had a man who was perfectly free of temptation, like they enjoyed the fruits of the earth, but they were just not subject to demonic influence. You know, they could eat anything, do anything, and they would be pious through and through. What do you think it would be okay for them to do if there was no risk of them falling into anything worse than what they've already done?
I don't understand the question.
Like, if they, like, say there was a person who wanted to just fuck around and just fuck hot chicks, you know? And he could do this, but he's a deeply pious man and he loves the Lord, and he's capable of having sex without engaging in idolatry or worship, without weakening himself. All the negative side effects, he can control them. He has a strong enough will to fuck without it draining him ethically. Do you think it would be right for him to do so because he has the temperance to manage that level of indulgence? Or do you think that even the threat, even if it's not happening yet, like you can't even try?
I don't really like these imaginary scenarios because this is not based in reality. But I imagine that such a man wouldn't be even interested in that at that point.
Are not men of the cloth interested in fine dining? I mean, I may not be a religious person, but I have had friends.
But men of the cloth aren't this imaginary man that you just described.
But they do partake in delicious meals, which is, as you even acknowledged, a precursor to gluttony. So if you have bishops and priests and rabbis, whatever you may think of them, willfully partaking in many pleasures of the flesh, which are not sex, and then still continuing to be great advocates for their God, would it not suggest that it is possible to willfully indulge oneself, but still be, a pious man free of temptation?
Under the order of God, if they're married, the husband of but one wife, is like the New Testament talks about. Leader of the church should be the husband of but one wife, meaning they're under control. They're not going wild with it, doing it out of order.
Right, but what if they the reason I bring up food is because I know that despite gluttony and lust both being sins, people tend to be a lot more permissive with.
I understand.
Right. Yep. So obviously, for me, I think it would be equally applicable with sex, and there are probably more people with eating disorders in America than there are people with sex addiction. Though maybe. I don't have any hard. I don't know. I don't have any hard data on that. It kind of depends on where you draw the line. Only that frankly, it just seems incredibly arbitrary. We're put on this earth by God. We have a finite length of time during which to demonstrate our character. And it seems like of all the mortal sins we can commit, of all the things we can do to defy the will of God, murder, rape, torture, whatever, like we do horrible shit to each other. And then it's like, okay, yeah, also like don't like suck a dick, like don't do anal sex. It just seems bizarrely arbitrary. If it's a personal code you'd like to indulge in, that's fine. But I don't know how you can fairly argue that other people are suffering for their indulgence.
Oh, I mean, look around the so-called LGBT community and the people who are loose morally, sexually, the so-called straights are miserable. They're using each other, being used. They're into they're hooked on it. They're hooked on the pornography and all that stuff. They're not they are suffering for what they're doing.
Then why is it that generally homosexuals are more unhappy when they're in the closet not having sex than they are after they come out of the closet and begin having sex?
That beginning point feels like a relief to them. I imagine. This is what I've heard about transgenders who, when they first so-called accept their transgenderism, it's a great relief because they finally accepted who they think they are. They finally quit fighting. That's why they're less miserable for a time in those early days. But who knows? Sooner or later, they're suffering in ways they don't know. They're suffering
in ways that statisticians don't know either. To my knowledge,
statisticians are liberals, and liberals lie, and they're not about truth or finding the truth.
May I ask by what evidence you're suggesting they become less happy over time?
Well, look at how angry the average radical homosexual is. They're just nasty, vicious, malicious people.
I think they're nice.
You think they're nice because you're nice to them. You agree with them. Have you seen how they treat the Christians?
Well, I can't imagine why they would be angry at you. Perhaps
there's
for
no
disagreeing
reason for
on
anger.
Things they consider quite important. Right. Well,
I understand that the Christians Christians have not always been right in how they fight, but the gays are quite nasty, and they're doing unto others what they imagine was done unto them, or something like that.
They're preventing you from having sex?
Nobody prevented gays from having so-called sex.
They were subjected to anti-sodomy laws and arrested and sterilized in the state.
Good, for their own good.
Well, that would be preventing them from having sex.
That's not actual sex, but this is kind of silly because people, if they were caught,
you're being female-minded right now. Come on.
No, hold on, listen.
If they were female-minded, nobody can know what they're going to be like 30 years in the future. No human can, no matter how responsible or well-prepared you are. People change with time. I think it's horrible, the idea. Don't get me wrong. People who stay married their whole lives, I think that's a wonderful thing, matrimony and all that. But if they want to leave, why consign them to that fate? And why consign the children to an adolescence surrounded by parents who hate each other? That's also a high predictor, by the way, for crime. When children see their parents go like marital instability between their parents, that's something psychologically that's often a precursor to other problems. Because
that's why we need morality.
What if they just don't get along anymore? That's not even a moral thing. That's just
it is a moral thing.
You
not getting along, you're acting like two adults can't suck up and accept their lot in life.
For their whole lives to be, so you're not even talking about getting along, you're just talking about like forcing it for your entire life.
This is all like a what if thing, but yes.
Well, it's a what if that happens, right? There are plenty of unhappy married couples out there.
Right, and you know why they don't get divorced?
Well, I think they should. There are a lot of children of unhappy couples that say they wish their parents had just gotten divorced because they would have much rather have been raised by one parent than raised by two parents who hate each other, which thus give them a really fucked up view of relationships. But like, imagine what a kid thinks of relationships when they grow up with a man and a woman who hate each other. Like, that's got to set you down the wrong road from the beginning.
But you're comparing evil to evil, and you're giving us a false dilemma.
It's not evil to dislike a person you married. Humans change.
I know, but you just admitted that it isn't evil that the kids suffer. I'm using evil in the sense of it's a misery.
The evil's them staying together. They can choose to leave.
I'm saying, but that's not a good. That's not a solution. You're
If two
comparing
people
one
don't like each
evil.
other.
You're comparing one evil, which is divorce, which children of divorce don't tend to do well, and to the evil of them being miserable and staying together, which is the same thing. You're basically comparing the same thing.
If it's the same, let's say it's the same thing, which I don't
well,
believe.
it's not exactly the same thing because you just described that they stay together and they get miserable. I caught that point.
Right. If we were to believe that would lead to the same outcome for the children, do the parents not have a right to find other people who they'll love?
There is no, the parents don't have any love. And that's why they're miserable together. They're not going to be happier with somebody else. No, they shouldn't find new people. If you don't have love, then you're not going to love somebody else.
Do you love me, Hake? Would you fuck me?
No, that's wrong.
But you could love somebody else.
But that's not love anyway. You shouldn't get married for this quote unquote love thing. That's a fake idea. People don't know what love actually is.
Interesting. I believe what you're saying right now, if I'm not mistaken, is heretical. The idea of love is a bonding mechanism that God gave human beings as a way of encouraging, like the love humans feel for each other is a reflection of the love that God has for all men. By denying the existence of love, especially as a precursor to marriage, I'm pretty sure you're turning your back on God's love.
No, man, because the men and women who get married, they don't tend to love each other, but they hopefully they start to actually love each other, right? Normally they're into sex or some other thing, and then hopefully they overcome the sex and find actual love.
I think you might be projecting some of your feelings towards women onto other people, because generally speaking, I think when people marry, well, there are a lot of reasons why people can marry, of course, but I generally don't think people marry for the sex. Like, you can just fuck people if you want.
I know, they're hooked though by the sex.
I can just have sex with people without marrying, though. Why would I marry someone if I just want pussy?
But a lot of people want to be more traditional than you. Even the so-called gays, they want to be more traditional than you. So they think that they think that this marriage thing will be the family that they want, the love that they want. But they're looking for love, and they think that they have love. But that's not the kind of so-called love that human beings have towards each other. As you just admitted, 30 years down the line or less, it sours. That's not love. Love lasts.
I don't think
that's
anything
very
lasts.
Different from God's love.
Well, God's love is eternal, sure, but I don't think that any interhuman love lasts. Humans change. And I think that we should have a right to find new partners for ourselves when we find that our current partners, and I or you or whoever else, no longer have much in common and don't get along that well anymore.
That's gay. Partners is a gay term. And the divorce and remarriage is...
Hake, I'm gay. Of course I would say partners. Hake, the last sexual interaction I had was me sucking cock, okay? I'm gay enough for you.
TMI.
Vaush, who is more likely to suck a dick? Big Papa Fascist or CTV?
Personally, I think it would be CTV, because he strikes me as like a rowdy lad. You know what I mean? Like a rowdy, like out with the boys type.
I bet those glasses make you see better.